Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Let's look into the first question. Consider the following statements with respect to Desert National Park. It is spread over 3 districts in the state of Rajasthan. DNP is spectacular representative of the desert ecosystem. The DNP is the most important site for the globally threatened Great Indian Bustard. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer to this is 2 and 3 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the Desert National Park. Let us try and understand what are these options. When we look into the first option, it says it is spread over 3 districts in the state of Rajasthan. This is a wrong statement. Why? Because it is spread over 2 districts which happen to be Jaisalmer as well as Barmar district. The second statement is right. DNP is spectacular representative of the desert ecosystem where the area falls in the extreme hot and the arid region, and it also has very less rainfall as well, which is less than 100 mm of the country. The DNP once again is the most important site for the globally threatened Great Indian Bustard. Since the second and the third statement are right, the first statement is wrong. The answer to this would be 2 and 3 only. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following are the features of the Government of India Act of 1935? It introduced for the first time bicameralism and direct elections in the country. It extended the principle of communal representation by providing separate electorates for Sikhs, Indian Christians, Anglo-Indians and Europeans. It provided for the establishment of a Reserve Bank of India to control the currency and credit of the country. Which of the statements are right? The answer to this is 3 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the Government of India Act of 1935. When we look into the option, the first two options says that it introduced for the first time bicameralism and the direct elections in the country. The second option says it extended the principle of communal representation by providing separate electorates for Sikhs, Indian Christians, Anglo-Indians and Europeans. These two does not come under Government of India Act of 1935. Instead, it comes under the Act of 1919. Since both the statements are wrong and is not in reference to the features of the Government of India Act of 1935, the answer to this would be 3 only. Let's look at some of the important features with respect to Government of India Act of 1935. The British Parliament retained its supremacy over the Indian legislatures, both provincial and federal. In the 1935 Act, a federal railway authority was set up to control the Indian railways. The Act provided for the establishment of the Reserve Bank of India. The Act also provided for the establishment of federal, provincial and joint public service commissions, and the subjects under the federal list were divided into reserved and transferred subjects. What are these transferred subjects? The transferred subjects were administered by the Governor General and his Council of Ministers. The Council had to act in confidence with the legislature, and when it comes to the reserved subjects, they were controlled by the Governor General, who administered them with the help of 3 councillors appointed by him. And as part of the assignment, you have to put on the comment section what are some of the subjects coming under the reserved category and what are the subjects coming under the transferred category. So please put them on the comment section so that in case you have a question that comes up in the preliminary examination, you would be able to handle them. The Act also gave more autonomy to the provinces. Diarchy was abolished at the provincial levels as well. These are some of the important features when it comes to the Government of India Act of 1935. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following countries share a border with the Red Sea? Djibouti, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Yemen. The answer to this is 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6. The answer here eliminates Jordan. Jordan does not have borders with Red Sea. If we look into the map, what do we have? We have Yemen, we have Saudi Arabia, we have Egypt, we have Sudan, we have Eritrea, we also have Djibouti as well. How do you remember this? We have a mnemonic called as Desi. Generally, if we speak about Desi meaning, you would say it is DESI. However, in this particular case, call it as Desi, which is nothing but DESI. SSEY, where you have D, which stands for Djibouti, E, which stands for Egypt, S for Sudan, S for Saudi Arabia, E for Eritrea, and Y for Yemen. This is a code or a mnemonic so that you would be able to remember it. And also remember, we have a separate video that we would be uploading every week, which is in reference to the mind maps and the mnemonics. Please do watch these videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the Red Sea. Now let's look into the next practice question. With respect to millets, which of the following statements are correct? Millets are gluten free and have a low glycemic index. Their micronutrients composition is better as compared to rice or wheat. Karnataka is the highest producer of ragi in India. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is 1, 2 and 3. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the millets. When we look into the first option, millets are gluten free and have a low glycemic index. What do we understand by glycemic index? We all consume different types of food. It can be rice, it can be wheat or any other food items. How quickly does this food item cause our blood sugar levels to rise is what is measured under the glycemic index. Under the glycemic index, there is a scaling from 0 to 100. Higher the value, more is the absorption and more will be the rise of the sugar level. And in this particular backdrop, if you consume millets, it does not increase the sugar level massively because it has low glycemic index. So basically, a glycemic index is a measure of how quickly a food causes our blood sugar levels to rise, and foods with high glycemic index are quickly digested and absorbed, causing a rapid rise in the blood sugar. And when you consider the second statement, their micronutrients composition is better to rice and wheat. This is the right statement. And yes, Karnataka is the highest producer of ragi in India. This statement is also right. Since all the statements are right, the answer to this would be 1, 2 and 3. As part of the assignment, you have to put on the comment section which are the highest producers of millets as a whole. Karnataka is known for the production of ragi, but as a whole we have different kinds of millets. Which is the state in India which produces the largest is what you have to put on the comment section. Now let's look at important facts with respect to the millets. Millets are one of the oldest foods. These are small seeded hardy crops which can grow well in dry zones or rain fed areas under marginal conditions of soil fertility and moisture. When you consider some of the crops like paddy, it requires and consumes a lot of water. But when it comes to millet, it does not consume lot of water. Even if the fertility of the soil is not that good, this particular crop can be grown in such areas as well. Due to their short growing season, millets can develop from seeds to ready to harvest crops in just about 45 days. This beneficial characteristic of the millet is of vital importance in the thickly populated regions of the world. If stored properly, millets can keep well for 2 years or beyond. These are some of the advantages of the millets. When we speak about the type of millets, we have jowar, bajra, ragi, jangora, bari, kangni, kodra, and these are some of the examples of the millet. What are the advantages of the millets? Most of the millets are non-acid forming, non-glutinous, highly nutritious and easily digestible foods. Due to low glycemic index, being gluten free, it helps in slower release of glucose over a longer period of time, thus reducing the risk of diabetes. Millets are rich sources of minerals like calcium, iron, zinc, phosphorus, magnesium and potassium. It also contains appreciable amount of dietary fiber and vitamins. Although millets are rich in phytochemicals like tannins, phytosterols, phytophenols and antioxidants, they do contain some anti-nutritional factors which can be reduced by certain processing treatments. Millets have a wide capacity for adaptation because they can grow from coastal regions of Andhra Pradesh to moderately high altitudes of northeastern states and hilly regions of Uttarakhand as well. So we have the flexibility that these millets can be grown in those areas where it can be rain fed or it need not be rain fed, where the soil conditions are really good or where the soil conditions are not really good. So it helps all these states and all these regions to grow millets. That is where the yield for these crops will also increase. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statement. In the tropical zone, the western sections of the oceans are warmer than the eastern sections owing to the influence of trade winds. In the temperate zone, westerlies make the eastern sections of the oceans warmer than the western sections. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer to this is both 1 and 2. This happens to be a previous year question from the year 2021. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is oil spill. What do we understand by oil spill? When we speak about oil spill, it refers to uncontrolled release of gasoline, crude oil, other oil products and fuels into the environment. It can be an accidental release into the environment. It can be liquid, raw or natural petroleum hydrocarbons which are released in the environment, especially when it comes to the marine ecosystem into the seas. The production on continental shelves, petroleum exploration and transportation in large vessels have increased the cases of oil spills. How do the oil spills happen? Oil spills can happen while refueling a ship, or it can also happen because of the pipelines break, big oil tanker gets sunk in a particular marine ecosystem, or drilling operations. When it goes wrong, that can also result in oil spills. When such an issue happens, this can result in disastrous consequences on the marine life, also on the economy of the country. What is the impact of oil spill on the environment and humans? Oil spill causes health hazards to natives depending on the seafood. Crude oil destroys the insulating capacity of the bird feathers and coats them with oil. Marine life and bird coated in oil are prone to hypothermia and death, and oil forms a thin layer on the ocean surfaces, prevents sufficient sunlight from entering the ocean surface. This reduces the dissolved oxygen levels, making it difficult for the marine life to breathe. If we have to consider the oil spills, it will usually kill the marine animals like the whales, dolphins, seals and sea otter. In fact, it also clogs the blowholes of the whales and dolphins, making it impossible for them to breathe properly and disrupting their ability to communicate. Marine mammals that eat the fish, and these fishes would have consumed the oil. Ultimately, fishes would also get killed, and the marine mammals which would have eaten these fishes would also get killed as well. Wildlife habitat and breeding grounds will also get impacted as well. Long-term damage to the species and their habitats, nesting grounds, breeding grounds is one of the most far-reaching environmental effects caused by the oil spills. In fact, the birds in this particular area which are also present will also be impacted. Ingesting toxic animals or prey-like predators, ultimately destroying the reproductive rate and habitat. What are the economic impacts of oil spill? Oil spills can lead to disruption of the recreational and commercial fisheries. Tourism and commercial losses are prevalent when the beaches and shorelines are polluted. The power plants that need seawater for functioning are severely affected by the oil spills. Apart from this, because of the oil spill, the precious crude oil or petroleum is lost. It affects the amount of petroleum and gas available for us, and ultimately we have to import more barrels of petroleum because of the oil spill. The process of cleaning the oil spill requires a lot of financing as well, and this ultimately means the country will have to spend a lot of money for cleaning the mess that is created because of oil spill. Due to this, various activities like sailing, swimming, rafting, fishing, so on and so forth cannot be conducted, which could ultimately harm the economy for a temporary period in that particular country. So how do we overcome this particular issue? What are the remedies to control oil spills? One, we can make use of bioremediation, where this technique uses bacteria to clean up the oil spills in the ocean. Then we can make use of the containment booms, where scientists use booms or the floating barriers to restrict oil from spreading into the ocean. So basically, if the oil spill has happened in a particular region, we will have the containment booms in and around that particular region so that this oil spill does not spread outside this particular area. Then we can make use of skimmers, which are devices used to separate spilled oil from the water surface. Then we can make use of sorbents like volcanic ash, straw and polyester derived plastic shavings, which help absorb oil from water. Finally, dispersing agents, which are the chemicals that contain compounds or surfactants that break oil into tiny droplets, are used to clean the water bodies as well. These are some of the measures that we may take up to control or mitigate the impact of oil spills. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.